Hello, this is Frank DeFreitas, and welcome to another week of HoloTalk for the week of February 8th, 1999. We've got quite a few updates this week on laser pointer holography. I had mentioned last week that we had these updates, and a few more have come in since last week. And I just wanted to wait and put them all together into the one report, and we've got some very exciting news from Steve Michael, which I will get to a little bit later in the show. Next week, I'd like to announce that our guest will be Dr. Bert Myers. And if you've been involved with holography for any number of years, you've probably recognized that name right away. Dr. Myers has been doing medical holography research for many years at the Veterans Administration Hospital in New Orleans. He's no longer there, but he's going to be coming on the show and talking to our HoloTalk listeners and letting them know what type of research he did down there and what medical holography was all about. And we're really excited about having Dr. Myers on the show next week. So tune in for that next week. Dr. Bert Myers from the Veterans Administration Hospital in New Orleans, where he did his research for many years. Also, another update from the Shearwater Foundation. They've announced their grants for 1998. And I will be getting to that toward the ending of the show. I'm going to go straight through with this. I went down to New Jersey to visit my daughter in college today, and it turned into a rather long trip, especially since on the way back we hit a lot of snow and ice and sleet that started up on the trip back, and I'm getting into the HoloTalk studio rather late. So what I'm going to do is, if you'll bear with me, normally what I do with the HoloTalk show is I do a few segments as the week goes along, and then I bring it into an editing program and edit it down, put things in, take things out, things of that nature. But this week you're going to hear it straight through because I really don't have enough time to record this and then go into an editing program and take things out and move things around and do anything like that this week. So this is going to be straight through, almost like a live program, except that you're going to be hearing it pre-recorded. Speaking of live programming, Saturday, March 6th is the 25th anniversary of the Central New Jersey Mensa Organization conference that they have each year, and I will be the keynote speaker on Saturday night. I'm going to be taking down holograms, lasers, do a small laser light show to the Boston Pops music, and do my presentation. I believe it's going to begin 8 p.m. at the Tinton Falls Holiday Inn, and that's on exit 105 of the Garden State Expressway. And if you take exit 105 and go through the toll booth, when you go to the first light after the toll booth, the Holiday Inn is right on your right-hand side. You just make a turn at that light. If you want to get information about coming out and seeing the program, I'd love to meet you. I'm going to actually be recording the HoloTalk program down there that night as well, which will broadcast the following week, and I'd love to have an opportunity to meet a few of the HoloTalk listeners at the event. And I'm going to be taking down the laser pointer holograms that have been created. A number of them are going to be sent to me as well, not only my own, but others as well. And this probably will be, or more than likely is, the first public showing of any of these laser pointer holograms. And Steve Michael has offered to send his first laser pointer hologram for display on Saturday night as well. Now, the current registration fee for this weekend, I believe, is $35, but I just spoke to one of the representatives after I got in this evening. I was actually down at the hotel taking a look at it today. We're going to be in the main ballroom, and I believe they've sold over 100 tickets for this already, which is a very good showing for this early. There's still a month to go. But I believe they're going to set up a special rate for anybody who's a HoloTalk listener who would like to come and just partake of the keynote event on Saturday evening for lasers and holograms. So if you'd like to have more information about that, why don't you send me an email And as soon as I hear from them, I will let you know what that reduced rate will be just to get in the door for the keynote address on Saturday evening. And there's also a dance, musical entertainment, a DJ, and a lot of fun after the keynote address. So we're going to have a pretty good time. And I'm looking forward to going down there. That's at the Holiday Inn at Tinton Falls, the Holiday Inn Conference Center, 700 Hope Road, Tinton Falls, New Jersey, Tinton, Falls, New Jersey. And the phone number is toll-free, 1-800-2-JERSEY. That's the number 2, Jersey. If you would like to stay overnight at the hotel, I believe you have until February 12th to do so. If you'd like to come out to the program and not have to worry about driving back, you can stay, and they have a special rate, which is $69 per night at the hotel, but I believe that special rate expires on February 12th, and there's a lot of interesting things going on there. That's the Central New Jersey Mensa Conference, the 25th anniversary, so I feel very honored to be a part of that. Okay, moving on. As expected, I finally started to receive results from HoloTalk listeners who have been listening to the show and following this adventure of laser pointer holography and started doing some holograms on their own. 2 people specifically have written to me. Now, we heard from John Clayer last week, who actually went into caves and made holograms in caves. He would take his helium neon laser along with a motorcycle battery and run his 5 milliwatt helium neon laser off the motorcycle battery down in the caves to do holograms of the minerals and different formations inside the caves. And he was just thrilled to know that he could just take a laser pointer and pop it in his pocket and head into the caves, because he had to tie that heavy motorcycle battery around his foot, crawling for over an hour to get inside to the caves. And this is great news for him. And he's actually made his first laser pointer hologram already. And I've heard from 2 people in Norway who made laser pointer holograms as well. So we're starting to get the results come in, and this is very exciting. One of the people that sent the email to me actually had a helium neon laser kick on them over the holiday season, a 15 milliwatt, and I don't believe they're even going to replace it now that they have the laser pointer, and they're actually looking forward to the higher power laser diodes. While I'm mentioning that, and it's on my mind, and I'm not going to be editing this, so when something pops into my mind for this show this week, I'm just going to go with it rather than go back in and put something in the show. My 10 milliwatt laser diode, the experiments I did with it didn't turn out very well at all. I've had beautiful, absolutely beautiful results using the little $7.99 laser pointer, not just for 4x5 inch holograms, but if you recall on the laser pointer pages that I have up there, I shot a beautiful 8x10 with that as well. But I have not been able to have the same luck with the 10 milliwatt laser diode module that I ordered. And I spoke to a technical representative from the company, and I actually put a picture up on the web page so they could take a look at it and see what this beam looked like, because it looked a little odd to me, and it looked odd to them as well. They think that there's either something wrong with the lens assembly, it's the lens either cracked or it's moved or something has happened to it. But when they took a look at it on the web page, they said it should not look the way that it looks there. And they were very helpful and took quite a bit of time talking to me on the phone about this, because if we can get these higher power diodes to work, we can bring so many people into the field of holography that could not be in the field of holography before and do large format work. I mean, they will not be restricted to doing little 2-inch by 2-inch plates or 4x5 inch plates. Someone who would seriously like to pursue this field could move on to doing larger format holograms, starting with 8x10s and then moving up to maybe 30 by 40 centimeter and larger work. Because there are 35 milliwatt diodes that are relatively inexpensive, and also someone sent me an email this week telling me about a 50 milliwatt Hitachi diode that was just released now at 658 nanometers. So when you're talking about 50 milliwatts of power and relatively very inexpensive, this is an incredible opportunity for people to move on to larger format creative holography. And I certainly hope as time goes on that we'll be able to work this out with the diode modules, the higher power ones, the way that we have with the low-cost laser pointers. The first person that sent an email through, actually I'm not quite sure if this is the first person or not, but I will just read them in the order that I printed them out here. And this is Ronnie Andressen, and I hope I pronounced your name correctly, Ronnie. I know sometimes, you don't get a chance to speak to anyone and hear them pronounce their name. You can only read it from the email. But he goes on to say that he's made his first hologram with the magic laser pointer. Very good results, and it's a very deep hologram. He did an overhead setup, and he did an exposure time of 25 seconds. He received a 30 on the 3 scale, and I guess maybe he's using the science and mechanics photometer for that. And he used the SM6 developer and dichromate bleach. And he said he got a red-orange image. Next time he wants to try the 10% triethanolamine. And he says it's not the brightest I've made. And let's see. In the next email, which he sent the next day, he said he was going to do a hologram the next day. And he writes that, this is Ronnie again, I have to report my new discovery after 2 minutes in triethanolamine. The results turned out to be exactly what I'm looking for. A very bright and green hologram. I used the same parameters as yesterday, but I achieved density 2.5 after 2 minutes development time, which is pretty much on the money, and that's after using the 10% solution of triethanolamine. And folks, that seems like that is the key to getting bright holograms with these laser pointers, is to soak in a pre-soak of the triethanolamine, even if it's a very low amount, a low percentage like a 5%, which I've used on a number of mine. Now this next gentleman is Vidar Hegsdal, Hegdal, from Norway as well. And I'm sure one of these days we're going to talk on the phone and I'll be able to get your name pronounced correctly. But Vidar, V-I-D-A-R, wrote to me, just a quick report from my very first 4x5 test. I can't believe it. My first exposure with the diode, after having torn up the envelope in a hurry and dived into my lab with the original batteries in place, I indexed matched a 8075 4x5 in 2 minutes, turned on the laser for 5 minutes, and exposed my daughter's small white plastic horse for 8 seconds and developed with Saxby's master developer and a scorbate bleach. The film did not reach a density of more than 0.5, but I dried it anyway. And wow, the result was better than any well-prepared 1.5 second shot with my now broken 15 milliwatt Hemi. And he says, almost forgot to tell you, the depth of the single beam shot was just great. I had a flimsy white cardboard paper about 15 centimeters behind the scene. It was well visible. I never saw that with single beam shots with my Hemi. And I'd like to comment on a few of these things as we go along, because there's a few things that I noticed as well that I'm starting to see in some of these emails that I never said anything about because I thought no one's going to believe it either. So I just never mentioned it. So that's one of the things that I've noticed as well, is the depth of these holograms are absolutely incredible. And in the second email, he goes into a little bit more explanation of exactly what he means by that, and I'll comment on that as we go on. The second email that he sent last week, I have done several tests with the pointer using Pyro as well as Saxby's Master Developer. I will try to summarize my pointer single beam impressions so far. They are without any doubt 2 to 2.5 times deeper than the ones created with my helium neon laser. Number 2, looks like the brightness is about the same as with my Heaney. Now he's speaking about a 15 milliwatt helium neon laser here, close to the film. But the diode images tends to keep this brightness even for deep parts. This is one of the main things that I noticed doing these holograms. When I would do a hologram, say, of that piece of coral, if you go to the 8x10 page on my laser pointer pages, if I had shot that with the helium neon laser, I would have noticed quite a bit of drop-off. That had about 8 inches of depth. I would have noticed quite a bit of drop-off as the further you got back into that hologram. But with the laser diode, amazingly enough, the brightness is just about as bright all the way back at 8 inches as it is with the coral right at the plane of the emulsion. And I find that very fascinating. Now, Vidar goes on to say, the reason for this has puzzled me for a while, and Vidar has puzzled me as well. Is it due to better coherence length, or the fact that the diode has a slightly longer wavelength resulting in a less dense interference pattern, meaning better fringe contrasts? I have no idea. This is something we have to look into, and we'll probably learn this as we go along. We'll learn some of the answers for some of the things that are turning up with this. Now, number 3, the beam is not as clean as from the Heaney. In fact, it looks quite bad. However, to my big surprise, this does not seem to affect the image quality as much as I feared. Strange. Now, I don't know if he's using a spatial filter or not, but I did notice that if I just take that laser pointer and send it through a lens, it doesn't look very good at all. But the results that I have gotten, sending that laser pointer beam through a spatial filter has been gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. A beautiful, beautiful spatially filtered beam that's very even from left to right and up and down as you take your probe and go into the beam to measure the intensity. Let's see, number 5, Master Developer does not change the replay wavelength, and images developed with these solutions seem to be very dark red, looking dim due to the eye's low sensitivity for that long wavelength. That's true. You're working with 650 nanometers or maybe 658. If you use a developer that does not remove any material from the emulsion, it is not going to shrink or collapse the emulsion. You're not going to have a move away from that wavelength. And the eye is much less sensitive to 658 nanometers than it is 633 nanometers with the helium neon laser. So this is where triethanolamine also comes in handy, because you can move that image away from the original wavelength that the laser diode or laser pointer produces. So you can get away from that 658 nanometers or 650 nanometers and move it into a shorter wavelength that the eye is more sensitive to. He goes on to say, Pyro gave me a better result than the Master Developer without pre-swelling. I have not yet tried triethanolamine and a Master Developer, but we'll try that next week. Okay, let's go further here. I also noticed that even if the film turns quickly dark in the developer, the darkening process seems to stop when D2 is reached. I have no idea what this means, but I have noticed this each time I have developed a film this week. I had the same problem when I was using the 10, well, I won't call it a problem, but the same result. When I was using the 10 milliwatt diode module that I had, I thought at first I grossly overexposed because the plate turned black immediately when I would put it in the developer, but I had noticed the longer that I would leave it in there, it wouldn't really go almost to opaque. It would just stay right where it was. Number 6, I do not know how high voltage the diode can take, but I noticed that the original 3 small batteries had 0.8 volt lower voltage than 3 ordinary penlight batteries, which I imagine he's using AA's or AAA's. Just to be on the safe side, I connected an ordinary diode in series with the batteries in order to drop off 0.7 volts. Any small ordinary rectifier diode will do. Just remember to solder in the voltage dropper so that the current can pass through. If you turn the rectifier diode the other way around, no current will reach the pointer. Just a quick report. Okay, this is actually a report that he had sent through before the other one. Just a quick report for my first 4x5 test. I can't believe it. Okay, we read that. Okay, like I said, we're doing this live. Stick with me, folks. That's the one where he did the diode right after he got the laser pointer in the mail, and he was saying he tore the envelope up and did the hologram right away. Folks, we're going to take a break. We're going to be right back. Steve Michael has some very, very exciting news. I'm going to read his email for you. And Steve and I are going to get together in York, Pennsylvania on February 13th, if the weather holds up. And we're going to talk about a number of different things. We may even get a little group meeting together once a year for people who do laser pointer holography, and I hope that's one of the things we're going to discuss when we get together. But Steve's news is coming up. It's great news. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back in just a moment.
Would you like to make your own one-of-a-kind hologram and learn how you can start making holograms on your own at the same time? You can do this and much more by attending one of Frank DeFreitas' holography workshops. From beginner to advanced, Frank's got a workshop that's just right for you. From single afternoon, evening, or weekend introductory workshops to Wednesday evening, 5-week complete courses. And don't forget his newest workshop, Laser Pointer Holography. Located just off the northeast extension of the Pennsylvania Turnpike and Interstate 78, the studio is a quick, non-stop drive from the New York, Philadelphia, and Baltimore, Washington, D.C. areas. For more information, call the studio's toll-free hotline at 1-800-458-3525 and begin your own journey with holography today. That's 1-800-458-3525 for more information on attending a Frank DeFreitas holography workshop today.
Okay, folks, welcome back. And just had to change things on there. I was getting a little playthrough feedback through here, so I just wanted to change that. Sorry for the break there for a second. Steve Michael sent an email to me with very, very exciting news this week. Save the really exciting news for last. This is what we've been waiting to hear, or one of the things that we've been waiting to hear. Steve starts off with hot diggity dog. Now, let me ask you a question right away before I even say anything else about this email that he sent. When's the last time that anything has happened in holography that was so exciting that someone would actually start an email or a conversation with something like hot diggity dog? This is very exciting stuff, and I'll tell you, I am receiving emails from people that have practiced holography and lost interest, and everything is like either taken down or put in a closet or stopped. And they're sending me emails saying, this has renewed my interest in holography. I'm very excited about doing this. Can you send more information? Where can I get more information on it? So this hot diggity dog is the perfect expression because, baby, this is hot diggity dog stuff. And here's his news. I made a very successful 4x5-inch multi-beam transmission hologram tonight, commonly known as a split beam, using my Infinity 200, and I guess the company's name is Quarton USA. $15, folks. $15. Laser pointer. Output was 4.45 milliwatts with new batteries. Exposure time was 45 seconds with 8075 HD. Beam ratio was 2:1. Turned on the laser 5 minutes, stood by the table with a cardboard shutter, and exposed. Wham bang, he says, as bright as any I've produced with my 35 milliwatt helium neon laser. Folks, this isn't someone that's saying this is as bright as what I've gotten with my 2 milliwatt helium neon laser, or as bright as what I've gotten with my 5 milliwatt helium neon laser. This is a 4.45 milliwatt, $15 laser pointer that Steve says is as bright as anything he's ever gotten with his 35 milliwatt laser. And Steve's got a good one. He's got a nice Spectra Physics 35 milliwatt. Processed with pyrogalol, stop and bleach. Fantastic. Even used pinholes for both beams. The plate was absolutely clean. Now he's going to try 2 object beams next. I didn't use my parabolic mirror for collimating because I wanted to simulate the amateur situation. So I used the 10 times the diameter of the plate for the throw distance on the reference beam, which worked out to be 72 inches, and he goes on to say he actually used 86 for the throw. So it will be interesting to see how much, if any, magnification occurred. Tomorrow I'll set up for an H2 using HE75HD, which means he's going to use this laser transmission hologram and make a reflection copy from it using his laser pointer. And he also goes on to say, I'm also going to try the BB film and PFG-01 and PFG-03M. I just got some PFG-01 film in from Fourth Dimensional Holographics out in, Indiana. So we're going to test that and see how that works out. But I'm not really set up to do, I think it's 50 by 50 millimeter film, which works out to about 2 by 2 inches. So I've got to work something out to get this film held in place and everything like that. It's going to take a little time for that. So this is wonderful, wonderful news. Exciting news from Steve Michael this week that he was able to make a split beam hologram. Now, this is what we've been waiting to hear. I haven't had a chance doing some of the other things that I've been doing, like running my laser diode off of a solar panel using the sun's energy for power, and also trying to mess around with this 10 milliwatt diode. So I am very happy that Steve managed to do this. Congratulations, Steve. This is wonderful news. And once again, it moves laser pointer holography further and further ahead. Now that we definitely know and we have confirmation that it is possible to do split beam holography using these laser pointers. Fantastic. And I'm going to go out on a limb, as I did a number of different times, and I'm going to make a prediction that these little tiny laser diodes that run off these batteries and these laser pointers are many, many times more stable than the helium neon laser. I just feel it. And I know that if you've got a fairly good, stable setup, physically stable, your table, from vibration and also from flexing, that you can really, really pile on the exposure time and not worry about some of the things that seem to plague the helium neon gas tubes. I don't think they're so hot, to tell you the truth. Now, I had a Spectra Physics 124B Stabilite, which was a very stable helium neon laser. And I know Steve Michael's 35 milliwatt is also a fairly stable laser itself from Spectra Physics. But just some of those plain tubes out there, just never really crazy about them. And I know that these little tiny diodes can really do a lot more than what you would think that they would be able to do because of their low power. So we have to start looking at things a little bit differently, that just because something's a 5 milliwatt diode doesn't necessarily mean we need to compare it to its performance to a 5 milliwatt helium neon laser. I do not think we need to do that, and I think we're going to see a lot of things that we can do with these little diodes that we could not believe could be done. Watch and see. This is very exciting. Okay, let's move on, and I can close this show out. It's just about 9 o'clock here. I still have to convert this over to a real audio file and then load it up to the web, get the web page changed so that when you click on the link, you get the right show. and then I'm heading up to bed. So we're going to close it out with the Shearwater Foundation Awards, the grants given for 1998. And this was sent to me from Andy Pepper to announce this on the show. And I'm just going to read this straight through. The Shearwater Foundation announced today that its board of directors has awarded $110,000 in grants through its holography program this year. The Shearwater Foundation Holography Program provides funding to institutions and associations that contribute to the understanding and appreciation of art holography worldwide. The Foundation also recognizes individual creative excellence within the field by providing an annual holography award. The De Cordova Museum and Sculpture Park of Lincoln, Massachusetts, USA, was awarded a grant of $22,500 towards the production of a major art catalog in connection with the retrospective exhibition Harriet Kasdan Silver, The Art of Holography. This is the first time the Foundation has provided funding towards a catalog of this type, and is some indication of the high regard it places on the important and pioneering work of Ms. Kasdan Silver. Professor Dieter Young received $5,000, the second part of a 2-year grant towards the documentation of the major conference and exhibition Holographic Network, which took place in Berlin, Germany during 1996 and brought together key artists and scientists in the field. Art in Holography 2 received a grant of $10,000 to complete the second-year funding of a publication to document the International Symposium dedicated to the art of holography, which took place in Nottingham, England during 1996. The grant was also given to assist with the research and production of a major website, which will not only document the Nottingham Symposium, but also the first International Congress on Art and Holography, organized by Professor Douglas E. Tyler, which took place in Indiana, USA, during 1990. The Center for Holographic Arts, Long Island City, USA, was given a grant of $50,000 to assist with the development of the new International Artists in Residence program it is developing. This is the first part of a 3-year grant and is the largest contribution to a single project in the Foundation's 11-year history. The center is directed by Anna Nicholson and Dan Schweitzer, both acknowledged artists and teachers, and aims to provide a range of creative opportunities for artists around the world who would like to work in a well-equipped, professional, and supportive environment. Eduardo Koch received $10,000 as the second part of a 2-year grant towards the research, writing, and production of his book Multiple Views, Creative Writings on Holographic Art, which will bring together in one publication some of the most significant writings on the subject. The German Society for Holography, HAL Germany, received $2,500, the first part of a 2-year grant, to assist in the production and distribution of their English-German publication Interferenzen. This not only provides information on many aspects of creative holography to an international audience, but offers a platform for artists to write about and discuss their own work. The 1998 Shearwater Foundation Award was presented to Philip Bauzonnet of Outremont, Canada, in recognition of his talent and achievement in the field of art holography. He received a check for $10,000. Nominations for the Holography Award were provided, as in previous years, by a confidential group of international advisors. So that's the announcement from the Shearwater Foundation for their holography grants for 1998. And this just about wraps up this week of HoloTalk. I want to remind you one more time, Dr. Burt Myers will be our guest. He did medical holography for many years at the Veterans Administration Hospital in New Orleans, and he's going to come on the show next week and talk to the HoloTalk listeners about his research down there. And if we have any more updates on laser pointer holography, we'll try and get a few of those in as well. We've also got a pretty interesting lineup of guests coming up over the next few weeks, so I'd like to invite you to come back each week and enjoy another HoloTalk show. This is a nice way to get your holography information each week. All you need to do if you'd like to get your holography information out is just send me an email or send it to me in the regular mail or send it to me psychically. It doesn't matter how you get it to me. I'm more than happy to read it on the show. We do get a lot of listeners, and it's a nice way to get the word out and a way that we can all keep in touch with what's happening in the field. So thank you, all of you who sent in your information about the laser pointer holography this week. Don't forget, I'll be at the Mensa 25th Anniversary Conference in Tinton Falls, New Jersey on Saturday evening, March 6th, as the keynote speaker and giving a presentation on lasers and holography. And we're going to have the first public showing of the laser pointer holograms at that event, as well as other holograms, as well as a laser light show, small laser light show. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is Frankie Freitas. I'm going to get this up onto the web, and thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you next week. Anyone out there, if I mispronounced your name, I'm very, very sorry. Take care. Bye-bye.